Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you're all having a great day. Just a little bit about myself before we get into the presentation. My name is Sanjana. I'm the success specialist at MAGNiTT. I work with the users of our platform, which are startups and investors and other ecosystem players to help you better understand the platform, answer any questions you may have, help you understand how to use it to make the best use of our features. Also joining us today is my colleague from MAGNiTT, Amir. He's on the customer success team, and he'll pop in every now and then to help with questions at the end. But there is a spot for a Q&A at the end, so feel free to note down your questions and ask when that pops up, or feel free to raise your hand or put your questions in the chat box. So MAGNiTT is a data platform, a VC data platform for emerging venture markets. So what that means is that we cover VC investment and startup activity data for emerging market countries specifically. So right now we cover the MENA region, Turkey and Pakistan. We expanded to Turkey and Pakistan last year. And we just recently expanded to sub-Saharan Africa. So we now cover countries like South Africa, Kenya, Ghana, Nigeria. And we plan to expand to more geographies in the future, and we'll keep everybody updated when that happens. But moving on, I'll get into a little bit more about the kind of data we collect, a little bit more about the fintech landscape in the MENA region. And then we'll move on to more about MAGNiTT, how we can help support you, and give you a little demo before we end with some Q&A. Okay, perfect. So about MAGNiTT, we have, as I mentioned before, we are a data platform. So we have over 21,000 startups on our platform, covering all the regions that I just previously mentioned. We also have 5,500 plus investors. This includes anybody from VCs to CVCs, corporate investors, to accelerators and incubators, to angel investors. And they're all included in the investors and enabler section. We also cover over 77,500 funding rounds on our platform, covering all the geographies I mentioned. And we have over 89 investor applications on our platform to help startups like you better reach investors in the region. I'll explain a little bit more about what these applications are later on in the demo, and I'll give you a little bit more context to how you can apply for that. But again, we are a data platform. So the main data that we have is kind of divided into 5 directories. We have data on startups, on investors, we have data on funding rounds, and we have data on limited partners and exits that have taken place in the region. We also publish research reports every quarter, monthly sometimes, at the end of the year. These research reports are kind of divided into sectors and industries. So we release reports covering the fintech landscape, edtech, food tech, etc. And we also release research reports on regions like the MENA region, sub-Saharan Africa. We also do countries, etc. MAGNiTT also has a feature where you can actually connect with one another. So investors and startups can directly connect with each other. And you can also startups can also apply to these investors through the investor application feature. I'll show you again how to use that later on, but that's another cool feature that we have. And lastly, we're really proud of our newsletters. We try to publish daily, weekly, monthly newsletters to help keep the players in the ecosystem up to date with everything that's happening, whether that's a new funding round, whether that's MAGNiTT related news, but we try to keep you guys completely up to date as much as possible. And I'll show you how to subscribe for this newsletter later on in the presentation. Okay, so now getting into a little bit more about the fintech landscape, or just the investor landscape in general in the MENA region. This is not fintech specific, but we'll get into that in the next slide. But On the left, as you can see, from 2019 to 2021, what we found was that in the MENA, Pakistan, Turkey region, that the early stage deal volume has actually been decreasing. And if you see MENA specifically, you can see that there's been a sharp decrease from 2019 to 2020 to 2021. This could be for a variety of reasons. This could be honestly due to COVID. And in part it is, but it can also be to a variety of different reasons that is honestly really hard to define, but it has been decreasing steadily. But on the right-hand side, you can see that in the same time frame from 2019 to 2021, in the same region, for all three, MENA, Pakistan, and Turkey, the early stage average round size has been increasing. So what this means is that although investors are investing less, they are investing more in terms of dollar value. So although they're writing fewer checks, they're investing more per check. Okay, so getting into a little bit more about the fintech landscape specifically in the MENA region, and this is H1 2021 specifically, based on the data we have on our platform. You can see that the UAE is leading in terms of the number of fintech startups started in this time frame. So with 192, the UAE is like a hub of fintech activity, with Egypt and Saudi being next. And this is out of 447 startups. Yeah, sorry. So going into this next slide, you can see that the fintech funding breakdown by country. So what this kind of means, I'll help break it down because it might be a little bit complicated, but on the left here, you can see that this chart kind of covers the fintech deals in H1 of 2021 by percentage share of country. So this is all within the MENA region. So as you can see, the UAE is currently the highest in terms of the number of fintech deals, which kind of makes sense. It's in line with the number of fintech startups started. So 20% of the total number of deals that have taken place in H1 of 2021 have been in UAE startups, with Turkey being next. And that number has actually increased exponentially in Turkey compared to the last half of the year. And also Saudi right behind. The chart on the right shows that the fintech funding in, again, H1 of 2021 by percentage share of country. So this shows that out of $222 million that has been raised from investors for fintech startups, 37% of that has gone to UAE startups in the MENA region. So that is a huge amount and is a huge majority, with Saudi being next and Egypt slightly behind. So there's kind of a trend here with the fintech hub kind of being the UAE, and Turkey and Saudi being Turkey, Egypt, and Saudi being slightly after that. Let's move on. Okay, this last slide here shows the 5 biggest fintech companies that have raised funding in H1 of 2021 by round size. So again, this includes fintech companies that have raised only in H1. So just from January to July, there have been rounds that have been larger than this that have been raised by fintech startups in the MENA region, but they're not included here because it wasn't raised in H1. So as you can see, PayMob from Egypt actually raised a Series A of $15 million from Global Ventures, A15 FMO and Ventures program, with Tarboot being next at 13 and Postpay with 10. Okay, perfect. So now that we've kind of covered the fintech landscape in the MENA region, and we've kind of gone over what the deal volume looks like, let's just get into a little bit more about how MAGNiTT can help support you as a fintech investor in the landscape. So before I go into the demo directly, I just wanted to get into a little bit more about what you as a startup can benefit from through MAGNiTT. So we do have a free trial for startups to be able to use, to be able to play around before you get a subscription, to kind of see how you can best utilize the platform and kind of make use of the data that we have. And we also have, again, 5 comprehensive data directories, like I've mentioned. We'll get into what they kind of look like in a bit, but another feature, like I mentioned, is our investor applications. And lastly, we have a feature to help you announce your funding if that's something that you're interested in on our platform. And these two features here are free, and I'll show you how that works. Sorry, I'm just gonna kind of share what that looks like. Perfect. So this is what MAGNiTT looks like. I hope everybody can see this, but yeah, so I hope, yeah. So this is what our page looks like when you log in. This is kind of what you see. Again, we are a data organizing a data platform. So what you do, the most important thing on our platform is our data directories. So as soon as you log in, you'll see right under advanced search, you can find 5 different options to kind of browse through our directories. So as a fintech startup, I think the investor one would be most helpful. So I'm just gonna kind of show you how that works. Yeah, right here. So okay, so as a startup, you can go into this directory and kind of browse to kind of look for investors that best suit your demographic. So you can use the filters on the left to kind of play around to find investors over here. So I've created a saved search to kind of make this process easier, but all you would do is go here to the left and put in the region that you're in. So I've just put in Middle East, which makes it really easy because it kind of picks all the countries in the Middle East and shows you investors that are based in this region. So if you're not interested in seeing investors from Saudi, for example, you can just click out of it and it's going to take out any investors based out there or investors who invest in Saudi. So there's a couple other filters that you can use. You can filter by industry. So I filtered by fintech here to make it more useful for you. And you can also filter by stage, by geography, by how much the investor has raised, etc. So as you can see, there's about 80 here for Middle East investors interested in fintech. And you can kind of play around with this to help you kind of make use of the platform. So for example, you can see the description of the investor here. You can see where they're located, any industries that they're invested in or interested in other than fintech, and what kind of investor they are. And most specifically, you can see the number of investments that each of these investors have invested in. So as you can see, MEVP has invested in 100 startups, fintech startups, or just startups in general, and that kind of is how this is arranged. So you can arrange it from high to low or low to high, and just to make it more useful. And you also have the option of clicking into these companies. So for example, if I click into Global Ventures, awesome. So each investor and startup on our platform has a sorry, I see a question. I'll answer that at the end, but yeah, all investors and startups on our platform have a profile. So you can go through each investor's profile to learn more about them. And hopefully that will help you when you're reaching out to these startups for funding. So as you can see, Global Ventures, you have an option to connect with them directly. So this will send them a message, and if they want, they can accept, and you can have a conversation with them directly. You can follow them to follow any news that they release. You can also apply for their master application. Again, I'll get into that. But as you go below, you can see more information about the investor. So, this is their usual ticket size. This is the kind of investor they are. This is the regions that they're interested in investing in. These are the industries. You can see where they're located, if they have other branches. And going below, you can see all the startups that this specific investor has invested in. Yeah, there's a lot more below, but yeah, some will have more and some would have less, just depending on how many they've invested in. But you can see each round. So Global Ventures has invested in Cartona in September, and they invested in their pre-series A round. and they invested 4.5, or Cartono raised $4.5 million. And these are the investors that have invested in that round. And again, you can go and click into these individual investors. So you as a startup, you can go through these other startups and see if they match kind of what you do, what your offering is. If they're also fintech startups, then you can go in, you can see what they do, you can see, you connect with them directly and have a conversation with them. That just makes it a lot easier in terms of reach out. So reaching out to startups might get you a higher response than reaching out to investor directly. So we always recommend, reaching out to these startups and learning more about them before you actually speak with the investors. Going down, we also have the team members of these investors listed. So you can see who everybody is, what their designation is, and you can also, again, reach out to them through MAGNiTT. You can click on them, you can connect with them, and you can build a relationship with these team members before you actually reach out to the company as a whole, and sort of get like a warm intro, as opposed to just reaching out with a pitch deck or something like that. And you can also see some of the startups that they're connected with. Okay. Moving on, we also have another directory called a startup directory right here. So right under advanced search, similar feature, it looks the same basically. But the difference is that the startup directory, again, helps you search for startups. And the only other cool feature here is that this has a lot more filters. So again, I've pre-filtered this to find fintech startups in the Middle East, but you can change that around. So investors use this directory to help build their pipeline. So they might go in here and say, I'm looking to see, edtech startups, fintech startups, etc., in the Series A, Series B range, or seed range, whatever, and they can filter and they can find you. So that's something that's really cool about this feature. Another way for you guys to use this platform, this directory would probably be if you're looking for competitors. If you're just looking to see what the other players in the region are, you can, again, look and filter this to make it most useful for you. But and you can filter it by many different ways, by business strategy, by stage, if there's a male or female founder, if they're raised before, and a variety of different ways. And again, you can just click in to the startup itself and look at the startup profile. And you can see that this startup has raised all these different rounds. And another thing that I haven't mentioned before is that we verify information. This is something that we've worked really hard to do, is this little check mark. We verify all the information that's posted on our platform to kind of make sure that everything is accurate and up to date. So our data team scrapes the web for funding rounds, and we ourselves reach out to startups and investors on a regular basis to kind of make sure that everything we have on here is verified. Moving on, you can see all the investors this startup has received funding from, and yeah, so again, you can always go in and click and read about these investors. Lastly, I just want to quickly go into the funding round directory. So again, right here under advanced search, funding rounds, same thing. We have all the funding rounds that have been listed in the startup and investors profile. Investors directory is right here under funding rounds. You can kind of use this platform, use this directory to kind of help you if you're looking to see, all the funding rounds for fintech startups, seed range example. So as you can see now, these are all the investors for all these startups. So it's, again, just a different way to see the same kind of information, but if you're looking for the data, it's just a different way to put it. But yeah, I'm not going to go into the exits and LP tracker just because it might not be that relevant, but we do have another directory where we record exits that startups have been in. So any startups that have been either merged or acquired are all listed here in the exits. And we do have a limited partner tracker, which tracks all the fund of funds and all the investors that they have. Awesome. I hope this has been clear so far to you guys, but I want to move on to another feature that is really cool and is personally my favorite, and that is called investor applications. This is a free tool that we give to all startups and investors on our platform, and allows investors to basically create an application on our platform and host it on MAGNiTT. And they can completely customize this application. And once they post it, startups like you can actually find them and apply. And this goes right to the investors, and they have an option to either to accept it and take the conversation forward, or reject it if startup is not exactly what they're looking for. Before I show you, I just want to make sure that it's clear that applying doesn't mean that you get funding automatically or anything like that. It just means that they might want to take the conversation forward and learn more about you as a startup. So how to find this is right here under resources. Just click on apply for funding and this page shows up. And then you can kind of customize these little filters right here to kind of fit what you as a startup are, so you can find the investor applications that are most relevant to you. Because if you apply for applications that are not very relevant, they might not even want to look at it. So I recommend here, so here as an industry, you can put in fintech, but I generally recommend if you're a broad industry like fintech to kind of look at agnostic instead, just because there might not be that many investors who are just fintech focused. They might be interested in fintech, but they're also interested in other industries. So going for agnostic just gives you the most amount of applications that you can apply for. And then again, you can look at any country that these investors are interested in, and I'm just going to go for seed. Awesome. So as you can see here, this is what kind of shows up. There's 23 results right now. I think we have over like 85 to 89 applications right now that are active on our platform. And this number changes a lot. Sometimes we have to unpublish some applications because they've passed the deadline. So sometimes there's a deadline involved. Sometimes there's a cap on how many applications an investor can take. And then sometimes they're just not interested in looking for more startups, so we have to unpublish, but usually there's around 80 to 85 to 90 applications. So for fintech specifically, there's 23 or agnostic, but they're all except fintech. And all you do is just go through this. You can keep looking at them. And I recommend just looking at their statistics. So these show that there's no deadline. And the response rate is 100%, meaning Agility Ventures responds to 100% of their applicants. Whether that's a accept or reject, at least they respond. And you can see that 242 startups have applied to Agility. So what I recommend is to kind of click in before you hit apply, is to kind of click into the profile and read a little bit more about Agility Ventures. Read what they do, about the application. The application is completely customized to their needs. So they're saying that they want seed and growth. These are all the industries and more that they're interested in. These are all the geographies they're interested in. And all you do is hit apply here. Just before I show you that, you can also just go to their investor profile, by the way. And you can look and see the startups that they've invested in. So, sometimes you might want to do that additional bit of research just so that it might help you stand out in your application a little bit more, knowing the kind of startups that they're invested in. Okay, to go back to the application, just click apply here. This button means that they have an application live. Okay, perfect. So going back, all you do is hit apply here. It's a really simple process. We're more than happy to guide you through if you have questions at the end or want to get into this in the future. We're more than happy, but just for now, it's a really simple process. All you do is you click the name of your startup. The name of your startup only shows up here if you have a profile on MAGNiTT. So if you want to if your startup does not have a profile on MAGNiTT, if you search here and your startup doesn't show up, that means you have to create a new profile. And we can help you with that really easily, but just click the name of your startup and then hit next and go through all the steps and answer all the questions. So they might ask you for an elevator pitch right here, ask you for your startup information, how much you've raised, if you've raised, a little bit more about your team, and then some additional questions. So question 1 to 5 is usually the same for every application. So you don't have to keep doing it again and again. It will save the answers. But question 6 right here is additional questions that this investor has specifically created for this application. So again, really simple, just click through and hit next, and then hit apply. And then on your dashboard right here, go to my applications and go to applied applications, and you'll see all the applications that you've applied for. Again, these are all just test applications. That's why they're all declined, but you will see all your submission. You can view it. You can see the status. You can see whether they've accepted or declined, etc. Okay, the only last thing that I want to get into is another cool feature that we have, which is called break your funding announcement. So right here at the bottom, very bottom of any MAGNiTT page, if you scroll down, you'll see a feature called announce your funding. This is another cool completely free feature where you can actually release your announcement saying, I've raised so-and-so amount of dollars from so-and-so investors, and this will go out to all the players in our ecosystem. So anybody who is subscribed to our newsletters, it will go out in our social media, etc. So it basically is a really cool way to get more exposure and share your story with the rest of the MAGNiTT community. And that's right here at the bottom, apply for funding. Sorry, not here, announce your funding. But yeah, just before I finish, I think I've gone through all the cool features that you as a startup can benefit from. Before I finish, I wanted to go through what the process is to claim your startup profile. So we, as MAGNiTT, we will help you kind of create a profile for yourself, and kind of help you put together this information. It's a really simple process. All you need to do is reach out to us if you don't already have a profile, and we'll help you create one. So this is an example of a company or a startup that has not yet claimed their profile. So all you need to do to claim is to register for free. I'll give you information on that if you're interested, but then just hit claim. And once you do that, you're the owner of the profile, and you're able to go through and update all this information right here. As you can see, they've only raised one funding round, but you as a company, you can go and update if you're raised, if you're not raised. And this just makes it easier for investors to kind of find you when they're looking for startups in the startup directory. So the more information you have, the more up-to-date things are, the easier it is for investors to find you and to read about you, and the more likely they are to connect with you. The connect button only shows up when you're claimed. Yeah, so I think that's all the features that we have that would benefit a startup. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And actually, I'm just going to go back to the awesome. Does anybody have any questions? This would be a great time to go through any questions. I'm just looking at the box. Is there a free trial? Yes, there is a free trial. Like I mentioned before, we can help you set that up. Just I'll show you my email at the end, but you can register for a free trial right on the MAGNiTT website, but we can help you with that also later on. Again, I'll put my email up at the end of the presentation, and you can ask me any questions that you have specifically about a profile. Hello, can we see European countries? So no, we don't have, we don't cover Europe or America or anything like that. We only cover emerging metro markets. And right now within emerging metro markets, we only cover MENA, Pakistan, Turkey, and Sub-Saharan Africa. So unfortunately, we do not have European countries on our data on European countries on our platform.
I just want to jump in real quick, sorry, Sanjana, and mention that if there are startup investors that are based in the MENA region and have invested in a startup, let's say based in Norway, for example, that information might pop up, but we don't tend to focus on that because we primarily focus on action and the ecosystem that's happening in the MENA region. So even if the country itself is part of the filter, it's not a focus of ours. We might have very rare scenarios where, as I mentioned, depending on the branches and the headquarters of the startup. So let's say the startup has an office in Dubai, in Norway, but it's headquartered in Dubai or KSA. That might pop up as a European country or a European startup. So that's the only way that that might happen.
Yeah, thank you for that, Amir. Does anybody else have any questions? Feel free to raise your hand, or just put it in the chat box if you don't want to. Okay, perfect. I don't think we have any other questions. I'm just gonna go on to one more thing before we finish. Oh, sorry, there is a question. Maybe I missed it. Is there a way to filter angel investors? Yeah, we do have an option to filter angel investors, right, Amir?
Yes. So you can filter by VC, corporate VC, investment company, or angel investor. So it depends in the filter box that says who the investor is or what the type of the type of investor. You can definitely do that.
Yeah, you would just go to the investor directory and then just play with the filters and find angel investor. Yeah. Keep if you have any other questions, keep going, but I'm just gonna how long is the free trial? Can we update investment requests? So the free trial is 7 days, but we do have, just before we get into the free trial, we do have exclusively for Fintech Hive startups, we are giving you guys an opportunity to register for a 1-month free directory access. So you're going to be able to do everything that I showed you today, filter all the information, find as much data as you want, because without access, the data won't pop up. So you need to be either subscribed or have a free trial or get a free 1-month access. So all you need to do to get this 1-month free directory access would be to be registered and claimed. So what that means is, like I mentioned at the end, you need to have a startup profile on MAGNiTT, and that needs to be claimed and updated. So to do that, just email me if you're interested, and I can help you get a profile started if it's not already on our platform, and then we can give you the free 1-month access. There was another question. Can we? Amr, can you take the last question?
Yeah, so as of now, as Sanjana mentioned, if you guys create a profile and claim it, you guys have the 30 days for free. Generally speaking, for startups, we have a monthly subscription and an annual subscription. So if you are interested in taking and having a subscription after the 1-month free that Sanjana just offered, please email either Sanjana or myself, and we can definitely have that call and take the conversation forward.
Yeah, awesome. There was another half of a question. Can we update investment requests with the free trial? I'm not sure exactly what you mean. Do you mean the investor application? Yeah, I'm not sure. Feel free to reach out to me right here in this email. Right here, sorry. With more information if you're not comfortable sharing here. But yeah.
Oh, she or he
It did.
answered.
Like apply to investors. So you don't need to be subscribed to apply for to investor applications. You don't need a free trial. You don't need the 1-month free directory access, nothing. To apply, the investor application feature is completely free. All you need is to have, again, a profile on our platform to be able to apply and for it to be claimed. Awesome. I think we still have a couple minutes, so please feel free to let me know if you have any other questions. And yeah. Awesome. I don't think there's anything else. Amr, do you see any other questions? I don't see anything.
Nope, all good. I just want to mention that please feel free to email us if you have any further questions. If your guys are playing around with the platform and something pops up, something isn't clear, please do let us know, because the way the platform improves is through the users and through the reviews and recommendations and feedback that you give us. So it's highly appreciated if you come back with any feedback or questions. How do I do this? And yeah, so we welcome that.
Yeah. Feel free to reach out to me or to just support at MAGNiTT in general. But yeah. Awesome. Thank you all for joining.